My husband Tom acts like I'm his maid, and if I don't do what he says, he threatens me with divorce. Tom stole my credit card and went on a shopping spree while I'm stuck working, and he's off enjoying a vacation abroad. I can't stand being treated like this. Sure, I replied angrily, brushing off his call. I started planning my revenge. My name is Holly Smith. I used to be a famous actress in the USA, even making it to Hollywood. Men all over the world admired me, and I was always in the headlines. My fame was incredible. I left the spotlight when I married Tom, who was my manager and assistant. He supported me through my career, handling everything from my health to my private life. Now, he helps me with our business ventures, and we run several fashion stores together. I retired from acting 10 years ago when I was 21, at the peak of my fame. Fans were devastated, and media buzzed with my decision. People showed up at my door, and I received fan mail begging me not to quit. Despite the rumors and tabloid stories, Tom and I got married and were very happy. Right before I retired, I started my own fashion label, and now Tom works for me. Tom works in finance while I succeed as a sharp businesswoman, pushing our models to success. Our life seemed perfect, but lately Tom's been acting strangely. He sighs a lot at home and looks defeated. Tom, what's going on? You seem down. Is something wrong at the office? I asked. I knew he tended to keep things to himself, so I often checked on him when we were together. He isn't one to share his problems openly, always waiting for me to figure it out. Although it could be tiring, I didn't mind because he had helped me with my complicated issues too. My gratitude always outweighed any frustration. I'm tired of being the sidekick, always doing what you say, he blurted out suddenly, catching me off guard. What do you mean? You've never mentioned anything like this, I replied, shocked. Tom often lashed out with words when he was frustrated. He starts saying things like this when he's overwhelmed with work. He acts tough at work, so he probably has no other place to vent. I remember lashing out at him many times when I was an actress, so I understand how he feels, but his unexpected words shook me. My voice trembled as I spoke. I've been holding back. Holly's always busy, and I'm just being supportive, he continued. Tom may earn more than the average person, but he's still just an employee at our company. I earn more than him, but I never thought it mattered who earned more in a marriage. His words were a shock to me. Even when you come home, you're all about work, hardly paying any attention to me. When we go shopping, you just buy whatever you want. How do you think I feel watching that? Despite appearances, I've been really patient, you know. Why can't you be more considerate? Tom looked at me with dissatisfaction, his lips pursed like a spoiled child. Frankly, his words irritated me. Our household is almost entirely supported by my income. His salary is his to use as he pleases. As I told him, it's my way of thanking him for all the trouble he's gone through and the support he's given me. When we were poorer, Tom supported me financially. I wanted to repay him for all the times he sacrificed his personal time for me, right up until I retired. It hurts to hear him say such ungrateful things. The clothes and accessories I buy come from the savings I manage. If anything, I'm the one making sacrifices. This thought made me angry. Holly, you're too free. I want more time off and to travel leisurely. The salary is good since joining the company, but there's just no time. I left showbiz and joined your company to support you, Holly. Don't I deserve more gratitude? Stop prioritizing your own time and give me a break, he said. When I retired, he stayed in showbiz, saying he'd continue being a manager. But once my business took off, Tom changed his mind, wanting to support me by joining the company. If I join the company and stay by your side, Holly, you will be lonely. I want to be there for you, he said. I wanted to spend time with him, so I let him join. I never asked him to, so why am I being treated this way? Isn't this life enough for him? Isn't he being too selfish? As I thought about this, Tom made a suggestion, adding insult to injury. That's it. My parents' 60th birthday is coming up. Can I get some time off for a celebration? That's all I ask. I won't be selfish anymore, but I want 2 weeks off. I want to take them on a trip to Japan. They've never been, and I want to show them the tasty food and beautiful sights. I prepared myself for what he might say, but his unexpected request caught me off guard. 2 weeks off is not a big deal and something he could easily request at work without making such a fuss. Our company is known for being fair, and no one would mind a leave request. We can handle someone's absence easily, yet he makes a scene and negotiates directly with me. Something doesn't feel right, but I have no concrete evidence. Trying to calm my irritation, I responded coolly, I'm okay with that, but I can't make it this year. There's a crucial fashion show for my models, and I also need to prepare for the Paris collection. My schedule just doesn't align. Can you ask if next year would work? I can adjust my schedule then. As a daughter-in-law, it's expected of me to attend my in-law's 60th birthday celebration. However, our company has two big events this year, leaving no room for personal travel. I tried to suggest a different date, but Tom refused with a smile. It's fine. We'll just have it with my side of the family. I want to spend some quality family time. My absence for a week won't really disrupt work, right? He said. Tom's words about wanting to spend time just with his family hurt me deeply. Tom's insinuation that I was a nuisance pierced deep into my heart. So how about it? I deserve some free time too, right? Tom always had a way of speaking without thinking. He's harmless but sometimes thoughtless. It's one of his flaws, but I chose him as my life partner, knowing no one is perfect. Still, I can't accept how he's speaking to me now, even if he doesn't mean it. Why do I have to be spoken to like this? Doesn't he care about me? Hey, Holly, are you listening to me? I owe a lot to Tom's parents. Although I can't visit often due to work, they always treat me like their own child and praise my work. We're so happy to have such a wonderful daughter, his mother said when I married into the family, and his father celebrated our marriage with joy. It's their 60th celebration, and I understand wanting to celebrate it this year, but how can I agree happily after being spoken to like that? It doesn't matter to me. Take 1 week or two, do what you like. I couldn't hold back my anger and showed it openly. This probably triggered Tom. He stood up, visibly upset, and left the living room without a word. We've been sleeping in separate bedrooms due to work. From that day until this trip, Tom and I didn't see each other at all. Is that really true? Isn't your husband being too harsh? My secretary asked, noticing my unusual demeanor the day Tom left for his trip. She's an exceptional talent and has been supporting me since I started managing the company. As women, we often see eye to eye, and sometimes she's even more reliable than my husband. She's quick-witted yet caring, always there to support me when I'm down or about to make a mistake. I cherish her like family, and she admires me like a real sister. I often confide in her because her honest and mature advice is always valuable. This time, too, she noticed something was off about me and kindly showed concern. I hesitated at first about opening up but realized keeping it in could affect my work. I decided to tell her everything that happened up to today. She furrowed her brow in anger. If I were you, I'd have given him a piece of my mind. You've been too soft on your husband, boss. I get that you love him, but you can't let him walk all over you, she said bluntly. Her advice hit me hard. In an environment where everyone tends to hold back from telling me things, she's the only one who treats me as an equal. This freshness and comfort are something I really value. Being in a higher position often means more humility and restraint, and someone who can confront me head-on like her is truly precious. You're right. What should I do? I asked. You do call them, right? Why not talk after work today? Don't worry about spoiling his trip. If things keep going like this, you might be headed for divorce. She pressed the point like an older sister, leaving me with no choice but to agree. As she suggested, I decided to call them right after work. He's in Japan, which is about a 15-hour time difference from the US. For instance, if it's 5:00 p.m. here, it's 8:00 a.m. there, about the time they would finish their breakfast. I had sent him an email in advance to let him know I needed to talk, so he should be expecting my call. I called thinking he'd surely answer, but there was no sign of him picking up. Maybe he's still enjoying himself with everyone. I'll try calling again later. I tried calling every 30 minutes, but still no answer. Worried, I contacted my mother-in-law to check on him. Hello, Holly, you must be tired. I'm sorry we went on this trip without you. We told Tom we prefer you to be with us, but he insisted. Tom's mother greeted me. I knew from Tom that his mother used to be a strict educator, but now she's much softer and always shows concern for my busy life. Never mind, we're so busy at the company this year I couldn't make time. I'll definitely make it up to you next year, okay? I replied. Oh, don't worry about it. Just having this wonderful trip as a gift from you is more than enough for us, she said kindly, which struck me as odd. Wait, a gift? I asked, puzzled by the unfamiliar term. She seemed surprised by my question and explained the situation. Oh, isn't it? Tom told us this trip was fully paid for by you since you couldn't join, she said. I couldn't help but shout in surprise over the phone. My mother-in-law realized I didn't know anything from my reaction. Isn't this the trip Holly arranged? Tom paid for everything with Holly's card, so I thought it was from you, she explained. The trip included Tom's parents and his sister's family, 5 people in total. The flight alone cost about $1,000 per person minimum. Including other expenses, it easily exceeded $10,000. It's outrageous to use such a large amount without consulting me, especially since I usually cover living expenses. Tom doesn't gamble or smoke, so his salary should be intact. He definitely earns enough to afford such expenses, yet he didn't. With him not answering my calls, my anger started boiling. My mother-in-law, noticing my state, spoke with concern. "Holly, are you okay? We'll pay back every penny." Tom insisted on covering everything, which seemed odd. "My husband and I decided to pay you back later. We miss you and plan to visit you. This trip might be based on a terrible plan," she continued to comfort me. "You're not at fault. It's also your 60th celebration, so please use that money for your enjoyment. I'll definitely get Tom to pay for it, but could you tell me more about the trip's planning?" I asked, wondering what Tom was up to. I realized this trip must have been carefully planned months ago. Tom was using me without my knowledge. At that moment, I started to suspect him. Then my mother-in-law shared a shocking truth. The trip was actually proposed by Tom's sister and her husband. To my surprise, it was Tom's sister and her husband, who always criticized me, who initiated the trip. Tom's brother-in-law is an executive at my rival company. He looked down on me for being a female CEO, and due to her high pride, Tom never stood up to his sister. Seeing Tom perk up to someone other than herself must have caught my sister-in-law's eye. Even though she's always led Tom by the nose, I couldn't stand the fact that she's offended by just a slightly nice look from Tom. With their strong sense of rivalry, my sister-in-law and her husband disliked me, and I tried my best to avoid dealing with those two as much as possible. The couple, always competitive and disliking me, planned this trip, possibly persuading Tom to pick a fight and exclude me. They waited for the right moment to bring Tom along as a cash cow. "I'm so sorry, I didn't know anything," my mother-in-law said, clearly upset. "Tom told me you were busy and asked us not to contact you directly," my mother-in-law explained. "If my unaware in-laws and I were to communicate, it would reveal the plan, potentially causing a rift in our marriage. To prevent this, Tom had to restrict his parents' actions in advance. For my in-laws, who didn't understand how busy I was, Tom's advice was absolute. They decided to follow his words and express their gratitude when they returned. "Holly, did you give Tom a card or something?" "He was paying with a black card I've never seen before," my father-in-law chimed in, his tone urgent. "What?" I exclaimed. His question had been on my mind the moment he mentioned a black card. I checked my safe. The black card he referred to was the company's vital black card, used only by Tom and me, who knew the safe's password. I never thought Tom would commit such embezzlement, but the card that should have been there was missing. Tom, being in charge of finance, could easily manipulate records. He was misusing company funds. Realizing this, my anger peaked, and I shared the story with my in-laws. They must have been shocked, going pale. My mother-in-law became panicked. "What should we do? Are we complicit in this embezzlement? We'll return with Tom immediately. We're as guilty as he is, even unknowingly. We'll accept our punishment once we're back," my father-in-law, a man of strong responsibility, said. I shook my head, refusing his words. It was all engineered by Tom's sister's family and Tom. My in-laws aren't to blame. I couldn't punish them. There's no need for that. You were just manipulated by Tom. You're not at fault, I assured my in-laws, but I can't let him off the hook. This isn't just a marital issue, it's a company issue. We need to teach him a lesson. They agreed to help me with my revenge plan. I was surprised by my own cunning, but my love for Tom had died. All that was left was hatred and anger. Initially, my in-laws were hesitant about this harsh plan, but as parents, they resolved to be my allies. During this planning, Tom called unexpectedly. I ended the call with my in-laws and answered his call. "What's up? We're enjoying the family-only trip. What's this important talk about?" Tom's sarcastic tone only fueled my irritation. "You took your time calling. Did you go a little wild?" I asked. "No way, just having drinks at a nearby bar with Mom and Dad," he replied. His response confirmed my suspicions. I had just spoken to his parents, and there was no bar noise in the background. They had no reason to lie to me. Tom was probably out causing a ruckus with his sister's family. His words erased all the time and relationship we had built, completely cooling my feelings. "Oh, really? By the way, Tom, you haven't been doing anything with the company's expenses, have you?" I asked. His demeanor changed instantly. His usually light-hearted tone became dead serious. He now saw me as an enemy. I faced Tom with equal firmness. "Just checking, since there will be an audit at the company soon. Are you suspecting me?" His defensive reaction only confirmed his guilt. I couldn't help but laugh at his poor attempt to cover up. "What's wrong?" "I was just concerned. And now you're talking about suspicion. Did you do something wrong?" Tom quickly changed the subject, trying to avoid my question. Anyway, the house isn't a mess when I get back, right? His attempt to shift the focus only made him look more suspicious. I was almost impressed by his foolishness. Who knows, I've been busy with work too. Give me a break, he said, trying to deflect. I hate coming back to a dirty house with bugs. A wife is her husband's maid. Disobey, and it's divorce. Even our executive says that to his wife. Looks like I might have to do the same, right? You wouldn't want that, so keep the house clean. I had never seen Tom get along with the executive, so these words were probably his own thoughts, masked as third-party advice. His patheticness made me sigh. Sure, I'll keep that in mind. There was no need to continue the conversation. Tom clearly looked down on me even embezzling company funds. Embezzlement is a serious crime, and I could report him to the police without mercy, even though he was my spouse. But that alone wouldn't satisfy me. After ending the call, I immediately contacted a certain place. The next day, while I was busy preparing for the fashion show, I was bombarded with calls. Of course, it was Tom. I noticed his calls late at night while I was out with my secretary, who was driving. I answered his call. You're late. What have you been doing? His voice was rougher than I'd ever heard, surprising both my secretary and me, who were listening on speaker. What do you mean? I was working, I replied. Did you do something yesterday? Do something like what? Don't play dumb. Tell me the truth. Tom's panic was evident as I could hear the commotion in the background. Several Japanese men confronting him along with my sister-in-law and her husband. The noise was chaotic, and Tom's stammering only highlighted his fear. I decided it was time to confront him directly. Too bad, Tom. You were supposed to be having a blast in Japan, but it seems your dream has turned into a nightmare overnight. But it's what you deserve for misusing someone else's money. You did something, didn't you? Tom's behavior grew increasingly erratic as he realized that admitting anything would put him in a very disadvantageous position. I took this opportunity to reveal what I had done. I contacted the president of the credit card company I'm contracted with. Despite it being after hours, he agreed to help me due to our long-standing relationship. I had him immediately suspend the company's credit card. The impact of this decision was clear. If a credit card is misused, the company doesn't have to pay the store, leaving the store at a loss. However, you had arranged to pay the entire bill at checkout, so with the card blocked, you can't pay. Now, you're being interrogated by the hotel receptionists. Tom's mom and dad had already checked out, and the taxi I reserved for them had left with them. There's no one coming to pick you up, I added. The situation caused Tom to panic even more, and he began to direct his anger at me. How can you do this and think it's okay? Are you ready for a divorce? Go ahead. I'd rather not have a husband who embezzles company funds. I remained firm. I've already spoken to a lawyer, and we're moving forward with divorce proceedings. His anger and desperation were palpable, but the damage had been done. The confrontation in Japan, combined with his actions, had irrevocably altered the course of our relationship. Tom was visibly shaken by my unflappable demeanor. I've overlooked so much of what you've done, Tom. I set my voice steady. There was a time when you supported my work, and I was grateful, but I've reached my limit. My patience is exhausted. That can't be. Tom, now in a complete crisis, finally understood the gravity of my fury and let out a pitiful cry. The hotel receptionists were relentlessly demanding payment from Tom and his group, who were cornered and in despair, with none of them speaking Japanese and relying on a guide for communication. Listening to their situation, I suggested, switching the call to me. No one there speaks Japanese, right? Let me talk to them for you. Tom, seeing a potential lifeline, eagerly handed his phone over, thinking I might have had a change of heart. I explained the situation to the receptionists in Japanese, and they quickly grasped it, seeming quite cooperative. To ease their worries, I also provided them with my contact information, which my secretary noted down. The receptionists agreed to my proposal after a friendly chat and returned the phone to Tom. What happened? Did you sort it out? He asked, sounding relieved. Yes, I've taken care of it. Now it's up to you guys, I responded. Really, you're a lifesaver, Holly. I love you, Tom said before hurriedly leaving, apparently called by the receptionists. As he departed, I wondered if it would end well. The situation was likely far from ideal, but it was perfect for showing him the consequences of his actions. An hour later, the follow-up began to unfold, just as I had anticipated. I was bombarded with calls from Tom once again. When I answered, his voice was filled with pitiful anguish. Holly, what's going on here? What is this place? He cried out, showing me via video call the image of a slum area in Osaka, Japan. Tom and his sister's family were stripped of their belongings and were in a pitiful state. They had been taken to what is considered the most dangerous area in Japan, caught in a situation that was honestly unexpected. I couldn't help but laugh out loud at the irony of it all. "Lucky you're still alive," I said. "Being in Japan's most dangerous place is a miracle, really." "Wait, Holly, what's this about? Explain yourself and come help us right now," Tom pleaded. From the video call, it was clear that many homeless people were surrounding Tom and his group, causing a commotion. They were confronted by the locals, who were obviously agitated. "You guys were causing trouble for Holly," the locals shouted. "You reap what you sow." Time for reflection. Tom's mother and father, who had joined the call, were also present. They added to the chaos. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing?" Tom's sister exclaimed. "A friend of Holly flew us back in a private jet. We returned to the U.S. and Holly picked us up." Tom's mother explained. "We realized you were trying to set Holly up. We asked her to do as she pleases with you guys." As they said this, the onlookers behind them started confronting Tom's sister and her husband. The people in this dangerous neighborhood were ruthless, and anyone with valuables, even women, was targeted. The commotion intensified as Tom and his group became perfect targets in such a precarious situation. I spoke to the crowd in Japanese, letting them know that Tom and his group were using my card without permission and treating me badly every night. I told them to do whatever they wanted with Tom and his friends, and the locals eagerly agreed to make their lives difficult. Suddenly, the call ended, maybe because someone grabbed the phone. Tom and his group ended up living in a rough part of town where they were mistreated and forced to work like slaves. They had no money to get back to the U.S., so they were sent abroad. I checked with the hotel reception, and they said that one of their contacts, who runs things in that rough area, agreed to help Tom and his group if I sent him some good liquor. I agreed to this deal on the condition that Tom and his group would be protected from serious harm. In return, I promised to sing at the hotel, something I hadn't done in a long time. The only live performance video of me is still cherished by many. As thanks, the hotel invited me to stay and perform, and I agreed. With the help of the hotel staff, I got my revenge on Tom and his group and successfully divorced him. I felt relieved and have been enjoying life with my in-laws. Tom's sister and her husband lost their jobs because of unexcused absences. The locals took their phones, so they couldn't contact anyone. My in-laws handled the situation well, so it didn't involve the police and no one cared about Tom's group. Since then, I've been focused on my work and living happily. Occasionally, I call the hotel receptionist to check on Tom and his group. They're still struggling, but I don't feel sorry for them. I asked for their lives to be spared, and I'm enjoying my life to the fullest.